Want to know one of the best kept tax secrets? Well, in this video, I run you through an amazing rule that lets you buy business gifts tax-free. As a business accountant, my team and I spend all day long helping business owners on their journey, and one of the things we come across a lot is a lack of knowledge around this rule called trivial benefits. Now, I almost feel like I'm giving away a trade secret here because I get to speak to so many people that are looking to move accountants and they've never heard of this rule. And of course, that's a great thing to be able to tell somebody, look, there's this rule you don't know about and it's really going to benefit you. But as a result, I really wanted to do a video on this just because I think it's wider knowledge that everybody needs to know. Now, this particular rule is intended so that if you have a team of people, you can give them, say, a Christmas turkey or a bottle of wine on their birthday, and that they don't get taxed. Because without this particular rule, they'd actually pay tax on that because they're still getting something for free that's untaxed. So this rule allows that to be the case, and just be sensible about it and say, well, look, we appreciate that it's a one-off type of gift. However, it also applies to you as a director of a limited company and also to your family members, but that's often a little bit of a tangent, but it does apply to you. Now, in this video, I'm going to concentrate mainly on that scenario where you're a director of a limited company, a small business, and talk about the benefits there. There is limited use of it as a sole trader with a team, but for now, I'm just going to ignore that because I think one of the biggest opportunities from a tax efficiency point of view is when you're a director. So in this video, I'm going to run you through all the key points that you need to know. Of course, if you like these type of videos, be sure to click the subscribe button below so you get notified whenever we release another one. So let's get into it. So as I mentioned, the rule is intended so that you can buy team gifts of small items. So years ago, Revenue and Customs had it in their manuals, deep in the manuals, that there was this concession effectively that said, and it used the turkey example, if you wanted to buy a turkey for someone at Christmas, they weren't going to get taxed on it. The problem was it wasn't very prescriptive around what that value was, what was a small gift. So about 4 years ago, they came in and said, right, we're going to put a framework in place, and small is £50. So the gift has to be £50, including VAT, or less. If you do that and you gift an item to one of your team or to you, and we'll come back to that in a minute, then you're going to be fine. You get a tax deduction off of it. They don't get taxed on it. Everybody wins. And that makes logical, quite friendly sense, doesn't it? You know, if I want to buy a birthday cake for somebody, they shouldn't have to be taxed on it, and I should be able to get a tax deduction as a business expense, and it works out fine. However, before these rules existed, there was a lot of grey area, and that's quite common in the tax law we've got behind us. So it's just key to remember that without the rule, you would be paying tax and or national insurance on it. Now, going back to this £50 limit, there's a few rules to remember with this. The first one is that it's a limit. So if you spend £52 on the gift, the whole of the £52 suddenly becomes taxable. So bear that in mind. It has to be under £50. It's not like an allowance that means you're only taxed on the two. It is all or nothing. So it absolutely must be under £50. It also can't be contractual or linked to performance. So if somebody hits a bonus, you can't then give them a present for hitting the bonus, because that's actually, like any other sort of bonus, should be taxable. It's really coming back to that anniversary, birthday type idea. It also can't be cash or redeemable cash. So as you imagine, if you bought them something they could go and refund for cash, then that wouldn't really work either, because they don't want you circumventing the rules and being able to pay people effectively cash bonuses in some other manner. Now, HMRC, even when they released this rule with a better bit of framework to it, realised it was still a little bit grey in terms of what they would consider this £50 gift. And they came out and said, look, it needs to be things that wouldn't provide a legitimate expectation and almost become contractual. The example they gave was if you bought your employee cream cake every Friday, and I actually think this is a bad example for a lot of other reasons, but this is the example they gave. If you gave a cream cake every Friday, there would become a legitimate expectation that almost becomes contractual, and therefore they wouldn't allow the use of this particular trivial benefit exemption against that expenditure. And in the same vein, if you imagine, some people say, oh, can I do my gym membership then? Well, if you think about it, it's a linked transaction. You know, it's part of a contract that's over £50 over the entire year. So generally, no, that also falls outside, and it's not for that. So of course, we mentioned a team, but it also applies to you as the director. And I think this is where some of the tax efficiency comes in. So if you've watched any of the videos or heard me talk about this, I very much believe the two main ways to legally save tax is, one, keep good records, and secondly, have some knowledge of the 22,000 plus pages of tax law, so you know what's possible. And with this particular rule, I think as a director, it's possible to look at things you would normally buy and think, okay, is this a trivial benefit opportunity here, and utilize the rule in that manner. Now, we'll talk a little bit later about what I feel about the actual how that should be used in practice, but it's more about knowing there's an opportunity there to use it. So I'd never say to anybody, go out and spend money to save tax, because it's a stupid idea. You know, you spend 10 grand, you're probably saving £1,900, so it's not really particularly efficient. But if you know and you're going to spend the money anyway, it's a good way to keep the efficiency going. Now, of course, HMRC knew there was a very high chance that if they didn't cap it for directors, the directors would really take this to the next level, because for the team there's no cap. but obviously because it's costing you money, you're unlikely to abuse it for one of your team members. But for you, there are rules, and that's a cap at £300 in a tax year. So 6th of April to the 5th of April, resets every year, you're capped at £300 worth of gifts. If you think about it, it's almost a £50 gift every other month. And where it's efficient is it will save tax, so it's tax deductible in the company's accounts, so it means that you'll get a corporation tax reduction on it. So at the minute, the corporation tax rate is 19%, so you'll get that knocked off your bill. And then you can also, if you're VAT registered, in the majority of cases, you'll be able to claim VAT on that particular element as well if there was any charge. So again, it's another saving. But the biggest saving for you as a director is if you were going to buy it anyway, if you think about the £50 you've spent, you could potentially, let's presume you're a director that takes out dividends, you might have paid corporation tax, then dividend tax just to get to your £50. So actually the cost of that £50 overall is more because if you stack the tax back on top of it. Whereas if you're spending it straight from the company, you're doing that before it's got taxed at all. And in fact, you're actually getting a tax reduction from it. So it is an effective way to be very, very tax efficient. And in terms of how you practically use it, it's just looking for that opportunity. I mean, I've seen all sorts, flowers, ashtrays. I had a frog monk for my garden, like a statue, all these kind of things. It's just having a look for it. But what I would say, and this is where I always come back to this when we talk to clients about this, is having sat on HMRC investigations over the years, they're normal people that sit opposite you and they like to see the spirit of the laws being used. So in this particular case, I wouldn't go diarising every other month I must spend £50. But if you're out and about and you see an opportunity to use the trivial benefits exemption, then I think that's a good way to really use that in the right way. I wouldn't go abusing it and trying to look for different situations, because the tax people generally will then look badly on that when they're sitting across you at the table. It's one of the key rules somebody said to me many years ago when I started in this profession, was the case of you need to be happy sitting in front of an inspector and explaining why you did this particular thing and why you feel it fits in the spirit of the law. And as a catch-all, just a reminder, this isn't related to customer gifts. So if you're going to give sort of gifts to corporate customers, or you've got subcontractors or suppliers you want to give gifts to, that's a whole nother video and a whole nother topic and completely different rules. This is purely for you and for your team. And they are the key rules surrounding this particular exemption. So if you know other people that need to be aware of this rule, please do share this with your networks. Comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.